太慢，跟太极一样。为此法会，Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Tassa bhagavato. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Alahadi Samyao Samputoshe. Wu Shang Shen Shen Wei Miao Fa, 百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持， 愿解如来真实义. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄 Dharma Masters, good evening. Evening to Dharma Master Heng Shan, who came all the way from Los Angeles, and we have friends here from Portland and Seattle and Calgary and Australia and points west. Appreciate the Bhikshunis taking their time out to come and listen to the Dharma tonight and support this lecture. We have a process to get going, a little ceremony. I'd like to explain what we're going to do and move the ceremony forward. This is the practice of inviting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the Dharma protectors to come to Gold Buddha here in Vancouver and protect the Dharma. So we want to be sincere as we invoke spiritual presence. Here we go. You've heard this tune before. Anybody who has been to City of 10,000 Buddhas and has done the Chaoshan from the mountain gate to the Buddha Hall, you know that melody, right? Namo Da Fang Wang Fo Hua Yan Jing Bao Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. That's it. That's the one. Here we go. Ready? Namo Da Fang Wang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Sounds good. Let's be sincere. Da Fang Wang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Wang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Fo Pu Sa. One more time. That's a way of building chi, getting our voices together and getting our breathing together. Now, I will be speaking in English tonight, and we have set up translators for you. So, 如果大家愿意听一种流利的普通话的翻译，需要附耳机，有没有谁需要？有没有耳机？请举手，我们给你一份。你可以听到，可是我们的翻译者在哪里啊？在澳大利亚，哇，遥远的黄金海岸，就很会。他听到我的笑话听得很多，所以他都会翻译了哈，你都会通了哈。Okay. So our translator tonight is in the Gold Coast of Australia, and because he's heard all of my jokes, so he's really good at translating them, so you get the humor, okay? He's been translating a lot. Also, we have a Vietnamese translation available for those of you who would like to listen to Vietnamese. Does anybody would like a headset to hear Vietnamese? Please raise your hand and we'll be sure that you can get what you need. And I'd like everybody to know that our tech host tonight is in Fremont, California, in the Bay Area. Let's see, also, who else is here? We have friends listening in from where? from, let's see here, from Hong Long is listening. Hong Long Shi Amitofo. Let's see here. Maggie is here. Sun Mingfang Taipei. Okay. Friends from Calgary. Friends from Virginia. And then Beijing, Beijing Harbin, Dongbei, Beijing Liaoning, Chaoyang, 还有哪里？安徽，合肥、安徽，还有哪里？大连、辽宁，Harbin 西安，有一位从西安收听，黑龙江，江苏省，鸡西，黑龙江，北京，福州，安徽福州。黑龙江，我东北人最多，肯定是这样子哈，不出奇了哈。河北，吉林，淮南市哈，包头，内蒙古。We have listeners from Inner Mongolia tonight, as well as from far off Dongbei, northeastern China. 北京，河南许昌，河南开封，哇，开封。哈尔滨、南京、北京，鸡西、山东、上海、山东，哇，台北一位，怎么台湾这么落后？嗨 ，Okay. So I really enjoy finding out how far our lecture has gone. I think it's just amazing that with the technology. We have translators from Vietnamese in Alameda, California, translators into Chinese in Gold Coast, Australia, and we're sitting here in Vancouver. How wonderful is that? All right, as we get going, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. They came before us, and we are sharing their land. 我们恭敬地承认 Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh 人是我们寺院所在地的传承施设者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。All right. And as I mentioned earlier today, Shifu Master Shenhua gave us the bell song as part of the prelude to Sutra lectures, and it was just part of what you did in the formal way of doing it. And the thing is, the Chinese bell song is just spectacularly beautiful. It's just, oh my goodness, it's one of those songs that you just, it carries you to a different time and a different place when you hear it. And I can't do it. I don't do it justice. I don't want to pretend. So we've translated it, and it was actually, this melody came from the first Heng Yin Bhikkshuni, 不是 Heng Yin, 是 Heng Yin Bhikkshuni, Lani Bauer, who was one of the first 5 women in the West to leave home. She put this to a melody, and it's much easier in English, so the Western melody. You can actually hear the difference in culture and in the nature of people. The Chinese melody goes, and you know. The English goes, dee da 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 dee da dum, dee da 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 dee da dum, like that. It's very straightforward, very direct. It's not. It doesn't have the 1,000 years of refinement of Chinese culture. We think how many years has civilization been here in Canada, right? White people coming. Well, not that long, a couple centuries, and in the West and America as well. So here's our Western bell song. What we lack in beauty of refinement, we make up for in sincerity. What did Master Hua say? Shifu said, I appreciate 西方人 because why? 心里很直. He said, I like Westerners because they're straight. He said, they're straight. They're not crooked and twisty, he said. So that's a virtue. Here we go. The bells sound wide, resound throughout 100 million worlds. You want to join me? Go ahead. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. The Chinese text goes, 众生传3000界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺后德. Okay, 因水死源, that's the truth. Alrighty. Now, I'm so happy to be here tonight to be able to once again explain sutras here in Vancouver. Today, after lunch, we had a talk, and I told the story of Master Hua sending myself and Bhikshu Heng Chao, who is currently Professor Verhoeven, here to go Buddha, but we were on East Hastings in Gore, the former Salvation Army building, which is not that one, this one. There it is. That's where we were, 1983. How about that? Looks pretty inspiring, right? No, Fasher, it doesn't at all. It looks like a prison. Oh, it looks horrible. This was built in the architecture style of this period was called brutalist, brutal architecture. But it worked. It was available, and Master Hua sent myself and Marty to go Buddha. It was the second branch monastery of Dharma Realm Buddhist Association after Gold Wheel in Los Angeles. And our instructions were to Jiangjing Shuofa, to lecture on sutras. That was what we were supposed to do. Twice a day. Can you imagine? Once after lunch, 90 minutes. Once after one could, 90 minutes. 2 lectures. And for us, we were beginners. How interesting can it be? Not very is the answer, but think of the audience. Think of those poor lay people who, bless their hearts, they were so faithful, and they showed up and they listened to us, Jiangjing Shuofa, for 3 hours a day, 3 languages per line, right? I didn't speak Cantonese. The audience only spoke Cantonese. 怎么办? So I spoke, Marty spoke English, I translated into my Mandarin. The translator was a young woman who was trilingual. She would translate it into Cantonese for these sweet old ladies who would listen and smile and then nod, and then they'd listen, wait for the no, it's English now. Oh, Cantonese, okay. Fa si wa, gom sik ngom, sik gom. And everyone, this big smile, they were so kind to us. For 2 years, we were training to speak Dharma. That was 1983. Well, guess what? 40 years later, I'm back. And here we go again. Okay. Now, in the midst of that, the sutra doesn't change. The sutra is the same. It's the same Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing. And now we've got another 39 years of perspective, another 39 years of digestion, you could say, chewing on the same text, and has a different flavor now. And my Chinese is a little bit improved. My understanding of what this text is a little bit improved. And I really get the feeling here, because the bhikshunis, the nuns here at Go Buddha, are very busy lecturing on texts. And after COVID, I was told yesterday that the online audience is in the thousands listening to the nuns speak Dharma online. How wonderful is that, right? And we have Heng Hingxi, Dharma Master Heng Xing, who lectures in Cantonese, very popular these days. We have Dharma Master Heng Shan, who lectures in Vietnamese, very popular. We have Dharma Master Jin Fan, who lectures from Liu Gui down in southern Taiwan. Every day, he lectures on text and gives people a chance to song Pu Xian Heng Yan Pin, recite the chapter on Samantabhadra's praxis and vows, and the Huayan Zimu. So Shifu's encouragement for us in each of our cultures, each of our languages, to open up these texts and put your fingerprints on them. The sutras are not meant to be kept in a glass case where they're respected and maybe once a year you bring them out and you recite them. Well, that's good, that's wonderful, but it's kind of like eating the menu instead of the food, don't you think? When you open them up, you know what people say? People say, oh, the Avatamsaka Sutra. It's just the lofty Buddhist philosophy. Can't understand it, don't even try. Don't bother. It's too much Sanskrit, too lofty, right? Well, tell me what you think when we're done tonight, whether you think this is only lofty philosophy. Or could it be, as our teacher said, Master Hsuan-Hua, he said, if you can put the Avatamsaka Sutra into practice, there is no worldly phenomena you don't understand. He said, this is like a map leading you home. He said, this is like a compass showing you the true north so you don't get lost. This is like a mirror showing you your true face. What's pure philosophy about? Of course, there are philosophical elements because it's based on principles found in the human heart. But to think that that's it and dismiss it and therefore only recite it or make it magical, you know, we kind of light incense to it. You can approach it that way, but my goodness, the Avatamsaka Sutra talks to us. So the joy of being a bhikshu or a bhikshuni or a layperson who opens these sutras and explains them is that you can share it with others. You can give other people an open door into this ageless, priceless treasury of wisdom and compassion. It's just superb. Okay, enough of my preaching. What do they say? Stop me before I preach again, right? Okay, hold on. Let's see. We have comments. Okay. Palms together. Thumbs up. That's good. Let's see. Okay. Wesley is here from Shanghai, and Maya is here from LA, and Liz from New York. Excellent. Okay, here's our text tonight. Let me fill you in. Our text tonight comes with pictures. Here we go. Who is it? This is chapter 39 that we're in, and it's called Ru Fa Jie Pian, the chapter on, we say, entering the Dharma realm. You could also translate it as merging with the Dharma realm. And here is the picture. Who's our hero? Who are we talking about? We're talking about this guy, right down there, this one. Now, he's in the picture, somehow, Shancai Tongzi, Sudana, got iconographed. He got put into visual literature as a little boy, almost like a baby. And that's not him. He's not limited to that at all, right? The sutra calls him a 20-year-old leader of 500 young men, right? Have you all met our boys from the boys' school here at City of 10,000 Buddhas? They're here with us this whole weekend. You'll meet them tomorrow. They're going to perform. They're not quite 20, but they're on the road to being 20. Sudana is said to be 20 years old. He's tall. He's strong. He's vigorous. He's good. He has incredible blessings so that when he was born, these treasures appeared. Shancai, right? Good wealth, wholesome treasure. So somehow, because he's called a Tongzi, the artists made him this little kid. All right, we'll take him as he comes. But what's he doing? He is got his palms together, and he's looking at this person. That's a monk. It's a bhikshu, bicho. His name is Hai Yun, ocean clouds, or ocean of clouds, maybe like cloud bank. Could be cloud bank. Notice he's got two monks beside him. They're holding a bowl, and he's coming out of a monastery. Here's the monastery. And notice in the middle of the frame, what do we have? In the middle of the frame, there's a Buddha. And the Buddha, he's got the aura, or two auras around him. The Buddha is sitting on a lotus. And this lotus, what an incredible lotus. The lotus is putting out light. This is a halo. Here's a stalk. And look underneath. Who is this? This is some sort of, maybe a yaksha, maybe a rakshasha, maybe a Gandharva, maybe a Garuda, Mahoraga. This is one of the Tianlong Babu. It's probably nobody you want to meet in a dark night, right? In an alley. Here's another one right here. Look at the muscles on this guy. His muscles have muscles. And they've all got their palms together. They don't look like they're threatening anybody. Instead, looks like they're protecting the Buddha. Here are gods, and the gods have their paiways in their hands. And here are more spiritual protectors. They've got gems and jewels. Look up here. These are all devas. The gods have come down to play music. This is a xylophone instrument. Here's a wind instrument, blowing on a trumpet or a shung or something like that. I was looking for a guitar. I didn't see a guitar or a banjo, but you can use your imagination, right? And they've got devas flying through the sky, offering canopies, their palms together. Look at, here are devas, again, gods from the different heavens flying around. So you get a sense of something really significant is happening. This is the illustration that tells the story about this particular visit of our hero, Sudana, to this monk. Okay, now what's going on? Here's the story. This is, here we go. Oh, by the way, we discovered that I'm hiding the Buddha. I could slink down and get two of us at once. There you go. How neat. That's a good camera angle. So, all right. So there's this genre, this category of literature called epics. Epic literature. What's an epic? An epic is a story about a hero, could be a man, could be a woman, who goes on a journey, almost always, goes on a dangerous journey, and they risk their lives, they risk limbs. They go out into the unknown. They don't know what's going to happen, right? And they travel, and they travel, and they have adventures. Often they meet teachers, and one of the things about epics is they often get wounded. They pay a price. And most of the epics that we love, they come home safe, successful, but transformed. They've changed. They've left something behind. Just think about our young men who've come all the way up here to Vancouver, British Columbia, passed through customs. They're going to perform tomorrow. They've been working on their lion dance and dragon dance and their drums for hours and hours and hours and hours, years for some of them. And how exciting to come to a foreign country to perform with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas invisibly sending light down. That's pretty special, right? That's a kind of an epic. Now, Mahayana Buddhism has an epic story. What is it? Shansai Tongzi Wushi San Sudana and his 53 teachers. This is absolutely an epic literature. So what I'm suggesting by this, some people would say, whoa, Fasher, be careful, right? I'm saying you can read this book like literature. You can read it like a story, and it rewards you. Of course, we do more than that. interpret the language, but you can read it just for the story itself, for the literary flow and the excitement of it. So let me, if that's true, this is my theory, right? Now you can test it out and see whether you agree with me. So here's our story. Sudana came out from the city of blessings down in southern India, and the word went out that Manjushri Bodhisattva had come to a park in the city. Manjushri Bodhisattva had appeared at this pavilion, and he was going to speak Dharma. This is how the chapter 39 opens up. Now, what happened next? Well, this part somehow slips through the cracks. But you know what happens next? Dragons. Dragons. Now, I know some of us only meet dragons in video games, but the Avatamsaka Sutra has lots and lots of dragons in it. If you all who are sitting over there next to Medicine Buddha, look around Medicine Buddha. Look at his aura. You want to see dragons? Right there. There are dragons in front of you, dragons to the right, to the left, and behind you. This Buddha Hall probably has more dragons than anywhere else in Vancouver tonight, I bet. And there might be some on 2 legs. You don't know. Maybe some of us are actually transformed dragons. Who knows? Tian Long, Ba Bu Ba, Long, right? Gods, the dragons in the Eightfold Pantheon. So the dragons show up. Manjushri Bodhisattva explains a special sutra for them, and a lot of them, it says, thousands of them, drop their dragon bodies on the spot. They, quote, die, but they're reborn immediately in a higher level of rebirth, because dragons, after all, are still in animal bodies. Some of them have shandong, but they're animals. So many of them, fa da putishin, these dragons make the great resolve for Bodhi and continue on in their journey. That's how the chapter on entering the Dharma realm begins. Sudana shows up. Manjushri goes, "You're the guy. You're the one. We've been waiting for you. You're the one." Anybody who's seen The Matrix, right? Neo is the one. Well, Sudana is the one. Okay, and they say, and Sudana goes, I've heard some things about you. Manjushri praises the Buddhas, praises the Bodhisattvas, and Sudana goes, I want to do that. I want to be a Buddha. I want to be a Buddha. And he says there's a famous exchange. They do spoken word poetry on the spot. They sing back and forth to each other. And Sudana says, Yuan wo zai ci sheng. I want to ride in that car. I want to ride in that car, he says. Save me a seat in that vehicle. Yuan wo zai ci sheng, he says. Save me a seat. Meaning what? The great vehicle. I want to walk the Bodhisattva path, and I want to be a Buddha. That's what he says. It's just, it's just amazing how the sutra begins. So Manjushri says, okay, here's what you do, young man. You are a zai fa qi. You're a vessel that can hold the Dharma. So what I want you to do is go find teachers. Go find teachers. When you find a teacher, bow to him, offer your respects, make offerings to him, and then listen to him. That's what I want you to do. And he said, you must make the great resolve for Bodhi. Okay, now what is that? That's Buddhist jargon language. That's Buddhist code language, isn't it? What does it mean to make the great resolve for Bodhi? We heard Shifu say that. I know Mr. Kellerman is here. Roger was Heng Zhao Shi back when, and he came out to where we were bowing along the road down to CTDB, and we would talk about what, after all, is the Bodhi resolve. What is this? What is this magical language? Actually, Mr. Kellerman, in his guise as a Buddhist monk, traveled to India with me. We traveled all the way around the world, to England and to Germany and to Thailand, and wow, long history. So what is the Bodhi resolve? What is that? Fa da pu ti xin, what does that mean? So I've been chewing on that and wondering, because it's so essential. It is so important to the Avatamsaka Sutra. Manjushri says, good man, he says, you have to fa da pu ti xin. If you do that, the teachers who you visit will speak the Dharma for you, he said. All right? So Sudana goes, okay. He does. And he starts off. And so Manjushri says, go now, go south, and look for the bhikkhu called De Yun, clouds of virtue, or virtuous clouds. So Sudana says, you mean I have to leave you, Manjushri Bodhisattva? Yes, you do. Go south. Well, it talks about, what does he do? He cries. He weeps. This sutra is all philosophy, right? No, it's not. It's heart-touching human experience. So he says, I really don't want to go, but I need to follow instructions. Goodbye, first teacher, Manjushri Bodhisattva. And he sets off. And our epic begins right there. So stop number 2 is this monk whose name is Doyun Bicho, and he teaches Sudana about mindfulness. Nian, he says, I am the expert at Nianfo, being mindful of the Buddha. 21 kinds of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is a big topic now in the world, but Bhikshu Doyun really gives him the details about what it means to Nianfo. Okay, then Doyun Bhikshu says, okay, that's all I can teach you. You got to keep going. You're not done. There's another teacher ahead of you. Go south, go to the ocean, and go to this place called Vancouver near Burrard Inlet. Does he say that? No, not actually, but we can extend it with our imagination, right? He says, go to the ocean side, and you will find a teacher whose name is Haiyun Bichu. The country is called Ocean Gate, Haimen Guo. And he says, go ask him, how does somebody Xing Pusa Dao? How does somebody Xiu Pusa Heng? How does somebody Fa Da Puti Xin? I only know mindfulness of the Buddha. He can answer your question, he says. Now, that exchange between teacher and student is repeated 52 times. 52 times in our chapter, Sudana shows up to the teacher and says, 大圣，我听说你很会教人怎么样发菩提心呢? And he says, I've heard your reputation that you're someone who can teach me how to Xiu Pusa Heng, cultivate bodhisattva practices, and Xing Pusa Dao, walk the bodhisattva path. Will you teach me? He says. And the teacher, every single time, repeats and says, 善男子如一发大菩提心好? He says, young man, have you made the Bodhi resolve? And he says, 喂，我早已经发大菩提心. Okay, he rolls up his sleeve. Let's go to work. I'm going to teach you now. And then the teacher rolls out his Chiatuoman, his door, his practice. And then he says, but that's all I know. Go south because there's somebody who can really teach you. And this goes on and on, okay? So that's the structure of our chapter. Now, let's explore just a little bit what is the puti shin, because that's obviously key. And puti is a Sanskrit word, and it means awakening, that you're awake. And there's all kinds of awakenings. You wake up in the morning, open your eyes after sleep. Sometimes something happens during the day and you go, oh, I've been thinking about it. Now I get it. That's a small awakening, right? And then we have Shakyamuni, who was a prince who went out, spent 6 years in the jungle in India, and then under the Bodhi tree, they say Mingxin Jianxin, lit up his mind and saw his nature, and that's the Da Puti, that's the Maha Bodhi, the Great Awakening. So there's awakenings of all kinds, but here's what I understand now, after chewing on it for nearly 50 years. Our Master Heng Lai has been a monk now for 48 years, and pushing on to half a century. So we've been thinking about this. The puti shin means resolve. Here, let's see. I've got my notes page. We've been working on it here. Okay. Let's see here. Aids to the way, clouds of virtues, spiritual friends, Okay, it's not that one, it's the other one. Here we are. Bodhi resolve. Hey, that's not it either. I know it's here. Bodhi Shin. Here he is. Do your in. I don't have it. Okay, here's what we'll do. I'm going to go here. Give me a second. Right here. Yes. Okay. Make it a little bigger, please. Thank you. Okay. So here's that first word. We say fa in Chinese. Everybody say fa. 再来 fa. Excellent. Okay. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Screen share. Thank you, thank you. Keeping me honest. Okay. There it is. Fa. Okay. In English, fa can be make. It can be express, it can be send out, it can be experience, it can be come up with. Sometimes it means to do, to emit, to live in, to bring forth. Okay, all those different English words all have a little bit of fa with them. And xin, this is really interesting because if you look at this xin is actually one of the pictograms. That's a picture of the heart muscle in your chest right now. Bump, 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 bump. It's got the aorta and the vena cava and all of you physiology students, right? Xin, there it is. That's an actual pictogram. And so it talks about heart, kind of the heart organ, but in this sense, it's not the heart organ, it's mind. And if you ask anybody from China or Japan or Korea or Vietnam, you know, where do you think? Mostly they go, here. If you ask anybody in Vancouver, Canada, where do you think? We mostly go here, right? We do brain, fa puti brain, right? Make the bodhi brain. No. Heart, this is the organ where thinking emerges in half of the world. So, attitude, resolve, thought, the thing that the heart produces, mentation, inspiration, make the bodhi inspiration, the bodhi insight. Okay, so look at these choices. So we want to make an inspiration, make an, I left one out here, aspiration, to aspire to long for, to wish for, to hope for, an aspiration. Make the aspiration. Think in your heart, yeah, I want that. But it's not desire, if that makes sense. Make an attitude. Shape your thoughts in that way. Okay, that's a 发心. Then we say, oh, 你有没有发心? Oh, 他没有发心, 所以就不来了, right? He didn't have that aspiration, so he didn't come. Oh, 那个人很发心. That person has really resolved, we say, right? But what does it mean? It means in their heart, they've got that attitude. They've got that inspiration. Okay? So, now, it's also da. And da is one of those funny words that's lost its da-ness. You know how some words get overused? People say, wow, that's really great, man. How you doing? You're looking great. You're fine, I'm great, right? You know about the 3 ages of man? You know? Or the 3 ages of women? There's youth, there's middle age, and there's you're looking great, right? Wow, you're looking great. So it's lost its power. What does it mean? Da means big, huge, vast, grand. Those are the words. Great, huge, vast, grand, really, really big. Yao fa da puti xin, says the teacher, says Manjushri. You want to make the huge aspiration for what? Bodhi. What is Bodhi? Here's the idea, and I really, if you don't get anything else out of tonight's lecture, this is what I would hope that you could park in your heart and take back with you. Bodhi, as I understand it, the Chinese goes, what do they say? Shang cheng fo dao xia hua zhong sheng, right? You've heard that. That's the formula. And if you ask, 10 Dharma speakers out of 10, Puti xin shi zhe me? They say, Puti xin shang cheng fo dao xia hua zhong sheng. You'll get that answer back. What is it? Shang cheng fo dao. Above, I'm going to become a Buddha. And then xia hua zhong sheng, those poor zhong sheng down below, right? Wrong. And I used to think that, because that's the word-for-word translation of shang and xia. One is up and one is down. But think of what that does. That separates the Buddha and living beings. And it puts living beings somewhere who knows where. You don't want to go down to look for, you don't want to go up for the Buddha. They're both in the heart. So what does it mean? Shang cheng fo dao xia hua zhong sheng. Here's the way I understand it now, and see if you agree that this makes a little more sense. It's shang is jiu jing. It's time, not direction. Ultimately, cheng fo dao, we can become Buddhas. That's to say, you sitting here, whether you're a grandma who's already brought children and grandchildren into the world, and you're looking like me at we're in the late autumn of our lives, right? Or whether you're a 15-year-old high school student here seeing Vancouver for the first time, doesn't matter. Whether you're a bhikshuni sitting here looking adorned, or whether you're a lay person coming to support the monastery, we all have a potential. And everybody has a different one. What is your potential? What is my highest potential? That's the question I ask. What is my potential? What can I do in my life? That's a question. You have to answer it. I have to answer it. We have the potential, ultimately, for great wisdom. Shang cheng fo dao. Ultimately, we can become Buddhas. How do we do it? Second half. Xia is not down below, it's dang xia, right now. Start teaching living beings. Hua zhong sheng. What does that mean? More Buddhist code. Let's decode the Dharma. That's our hallmark. We are decoding the Dharma, right? It means get to work on the things that cover my potential. How come I have not actualized my highest potential? Because I'm kind of greedy, I'm kind of angry, I'm kind of selfish, I'm kind of deluded, kind of attached every now and then, right? Or maybe a lot. So as a result, Buddhahood seems very far away. And my potential is what? Oh, I'm John's wife. How do you do? I'm Susan, I'm John's wife. Is that all? Ar-ima? No, I mean, you can be John's wife, but you're also a living being with the potential to become an astronaut, with the potential to become the Democratic candidate for the President of the United States, right? Did you know, interestingly, for what it's worth, our claim to fame? Anybody who's been to the Berkeley Monastery, we're in right downtown Berkeley, just 2 blocks from the police station, 2 blocks from the high school. Directly across the street from us is a private elementary school called Birkwood Hedge. Do you know who went to Birkwood Hedge High School with her Indian mom and her younger sister Maya? Kamala Harris. Went to the high school, the elementary school, directly across the street. We're on McKinley Avenue, where she grew up. And they're proudly saying she's a proud daughter of Oakland. She's not. She's a daughter of Berkeley. But they don't want to say that because it sounds radical. Never mind. We don't do politics, but that's an interesting point. that we have that. How many degrees of separation? Okay. What is your potential? What is your potential? Ask yourself and say, Shang Chang Fo Dao. Ultimately, we have the potential for wisdom. If it's not us, then who? Right? And how do we do it? We get to work reading the Sutra, looking in the mirror of the Buddha's wisdom and understanding what we can do. How many of us thought when we enrolled in high school that we would be performing a lion dance in front of hundreds of Vancouverites in the future? How many of us ever thought that we would be citizens of Australia? Not when I grew up. Kangaroos? Come on now. Right? But here we are. How interesting. Shang Chang Fo Dao, Xia Hua Zheng Sheng. That's the Puti Xin. All right. Enough of that preparation. We are now ready. Here we go. Here's today's text. Now, we're going to read it together. You all get the chance to practice your Mandarin and your English. Now, there's a secret in reading together, which is obey the punctuation. See that period right there? That's a pause. See the white space? That's a breath. See the colon? That's a pause. The white space? That's a breath. We're going to recite together. You're going to speak the Avatamsaka Sutra tonight for your own ears and for the invisible living beings here in the Buddha Hall with us. And another key, when we recite together, recite with your ears. That is to say, listen to the person to your right and to your left. I know over here I heard during the Namo Da Fang Guang Fo, we have some folks with very strong voices, very clear, very resonant voices, slightly out of tune. I really heard that. So what to do to make it sound very nice? Recite with your ears so that we match the voice of the person beside us and let them match our voice just right. Okay? Same with the English. So watch the punctuation. When we get over here, we're going to want to pause at the periods, take a breath, keep going. Okay? You'll see what I mean. It sounds so good to hear the entire Buddha Hall at Go Buddha Monastery reciting the Avatamsaka Sutra, tying up Jie Shan Shu Sheng Fa Yuan. Ready? Here we go with me together. I'll give you a line, you give me the line back. Here we go. Fa Puti Xin Zhe, So Wei, Fa Da Bei Xin, Pu Jiu Yi Qie, Zheng Shen Gu, Fa Da Bei Xin, Deng You Yi Qie, Shi Jian Gu, Fa An Le Xin, Ling Yi Qie Zheng Shen, Mie Zhu Ku Gu, Fa Rao Yi Xin, Ling Yi Qie Zheng Shen, Li E Fa Gu, Fa Ai Min Xin, You Bu Wei Zhe, Xian Shou Hu Gu, Fa Wu Ai Xin, 舍利一切，诸障碍故，发广大心，一切法界，先遍满故，发无边心，等虚空界，无不往故。Okay, 3 more. Here we go. 发宽博心，悉见一切。诸如来故，发清净心，与三世法，智无为故。Last one， 发智慧心，普入一切智慧海故。一切智慧海故 sounds really good. Good energy. Okay, now there are a lot of people who will tell me, I've recited the Avatamsaka for so long in Chinese, never understood a word. When I heard it in English, somehow it just went into my heart. A lot of people tell me that. Just the fact of putting it into another frame, right? Another container, this syntax, the grammar, the ABCs. Let's try it. See if it works for you. You ready? We're going to do this together with me. Ready? Expressing the Bodhi resolve means that, take a breath, you bring forth a great compassionate mind to save all beings everywhere. Period. Stop, take a breath. You bring forth a great kind mind in order to equally protect all worlds. Take a breath. You bring forth a tranquil and happy mind so that beings can destroy their sufferings. You bring forth a mind of beneficence so that beings can leave behind evil dharmas. You bring forth a sympathetic mind to guard those who are afraid. You bring forth an unobstructed mind to leave behind all obstructions. You bring forth a vast, great mind to pervade all Dharma realms. You bring forth a boundless mind because you are equal to the realm of space and there is nowhere you cannot go. You bring forth a broad, extensive mind because you see thus come ones. You bring forth a pure mind because you do not contradict the wisdom of the Dharma of the 3 periods of time. Last one. You bring forth the mind of wisdom because you enter the oceans of wisdom everywhere. Okay, this we're listening to the voice of the teacher. This is Hayun Bicho, and he has just told Sudana, he said, here's that exchange. Ocean Cloud asked Sudana, have you made the Bodhi resolve? Have you expressed the resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Think of all those English words, make, do, express, feel, right, experience, use any one you want. Sudana said, yeah, I have. I really have. I know what I can be and I want to get there. I want to be a Buddha and I need to know how. I don't know how, so please teach me. Okay, that's all in there. So Ocean Cloud says, if you haven't planted good roots, you're never going to get there. Means if you're not good in your heart, if you don't have goodness in your heart, good roots means wholesome qualities, kindness, generosity, patience, a sense of connection to your brothers, to your sisters, filiality towards your parents. Okay, you get the light that comes from those good roots. You have to be replete with samadhi. You have to be a good meditator. You have to serve good advisors and never get tired. You have to have relationships with people who you learn from. You have to never worry about too much pleasure or too much punishment. You have to take care of yourself. You have to have a mind that is impartial. You have to feel empathy. You have to delight in looking at the Buddhas. Then you can fa puti shin. That was last week. This week, he says, the Chinese goes, fa puti shinja, somebody who does this, somebody who makes the Bodhi resolve, what? Means you are kind. You're kind-hearted. You don't stamp on insects. You don't laugh when somebody stumbles or fails or trips, or you know the comedians who laugh when somebody's hurt or insulted. That just always struck me as very unkind. You need a compassionate mind to save beings everywhere. Okay, Gold Buddha Monastery, 1984. Does anybody know Bhikshuni Hengui? Hengui Shi, she's a city of the Dharma realm. Well, she was Lisa Choi. She was a graduate, a young student at UBC, student of Chinese literature, Lisa. And Lisa had a wonderful teacher. Her teacher's name was Ye Jiaying, Ye Jiaoshou, Professor Ye. Professor Ye was an absolute world-class expert in Chinese poetry. She was an expert in the poetry of Li Bai and Du Fu. I know some of the high school boys here have studied great Chinese poets. Well, she was the best explainer. She traveled to where Du Fu traveled. She traveled to where Li Bai traveled. And there she was at UBC. And so Lisa said, Shifu, could we invite my teacher over to Gold Buddha? Maybe she could give a lecture. Shifu said, absolutely, do it now. Get her on the phone. She says, but Master Hua, I'm lecturing on the Yinjiu Shi, the poems on drinking alcohol, drinking wine. Shifu said, bring them over. We need to expand the measure of our minds, right? So this is Chinese poetry. So now, when we were lecturing sutras twice a day, going through all these languages, we would have, the same 10, 15, the most maybe 20 faces. On the weekends, maybe a few more, maybe a few less. Professor Ye agreed to come and explain Yinjiu Shi. 200 people crammed into Gold Buddha Monastery. We had policemen on the beat, Chinese policemen from Chinatown. We had cab drivers coming in the door because everybody in Chinese culture loves wen, zhong wen. That word wen means stitching, how you stitch a people, a culture together. The Chinese have been doing it for 5,000 years with a single language coming down all this time, with all this deep cultural resonance, right? So, Professor Ye explained Li Bai's poems. People were so happy to hear an expert open up a part of their culture they'd heard about their whole lives but never had the time to study. Well, here she was, right there. Professor Ye said, I've never had an audience like this in my life. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share what I love to do. Well, we took her lectures, and Jin Yanshi, who is also a teacher at the boys' school at the CDDB, worked really hard to edit the manuscript, and now it's on its way to being published. Finally, 40 years after she explained it. She then later came to CTDB, and she lectured on Dufu at the Wordless Hall, at the wonderful Miao Yu Tang. So, compassionate mind to save beings everywhere. A lesser teacher than Shifu would have said, well, he wasn't really a Buddhist, and he's talking about drinking wine, so why? No. Shifu brought him in, and the response is resonating to this day. Professor Ye is now 100 years old. She's been teaching in China all this time. Okay, you bring forth a great kind mind to protect all worlds. This is how you make the great Bodhi resolve, he says. Okay, so a kind mind to protect all worlds. Master Hua, one day, I was keeping silent. I was only on year 4 of my silence vow. I hadn't spoken for 4 years at that point. Still about 2 more years to go. And Shifu came up one day, and when our teacher arrived from San Francisco, he did 3, 4 times a year. Oh, it was just so wonderful. One day, Shifu came in, and he looked at me and said, "Show me your handwriting." So I took a pencil and wrote out. He said, "Terrible." He said, "Even I can't read it," he said. He said, "Here." And he dropped on the counter 3 instruction books in Western calligraphy, chancery italic calligraphy. He said, "These are from Heng Liang Shi, her handwriting, 过得去." He said, "Learn how to do it." He said, "Your handwriting looks terrible. People look at that and they really take a reading on your character, just as sloppy as your handwriting. Straighten up your handwriting." I'm like, okay, sure. So I did. I took these books, Fred Eager, The Italic Way to Beautiful Calligraphy. And it was a beautiful handbook, and I had a square nib pen for writing italic, thick and thin, and thick and thin, and thick and thin. Not 书法, 不是毛笔写字, it's Western calligraphy. And something clicked, and my handwriting completely cleaned up. And the notes that I took, I never displayed it. Marty's handwriting, Heng Chao's handwriting was always even better than mine. But the both of us, from that time, learned how to write in Western calligraphy. And Shifu's kindness in pointing out something that most of us, when was the last time you actually held a pen? I was trying to write a telephone number the other day, couldn't find a pen. They're gone, right? We're just notepads and pens and handwriting. I bet the last time you wrote anything was a signature, probably, and you scrawled it, right? It's dropped out of our culture, handwriting. But I have taught calligraphy in schools now. So 书法, 西方的书法 is just a wonderful, beautiful expression. And Shifu gave us that gift at Golbuddha so many years ago. Let's see here. And then, okay, this noon, let's see here, a tranquil and happy mind, so beings can destroy their sufferings, right here. Shifu,
recording stopped.
Oh, we stopped our recording. You want to restart it again?
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Talking to my computer. My computer talks to me. How about that? Does your computer talk to you? So today at noon, we talked about the Zhengdao Ge and how Master Hua recited from memory all 63 verses of the Zhengdao Ge. It took him 20 minutes. And what did he say? He said, any day that you can recite the Song of Enlightenment from memory, that's a day when you will have no further afflictions. 你哪一天能背诵正道歌，那天就没有烦恼. He said that. And luckily, I had my Sony Walkman with a fresh cassette, and I recorded Shifu's Song of Enlightenment right there on the spot. And we still have it. I played it, listen to just a little bit of it. I really cherish this. We'll go halfway along, so people who heard the first part this afternoon, here we go. This is halfway along.
交起了不是功，一切有为法不同，照相不是升天福，犹如阳间摄虚空，势力尽见宽多，照得来生不如意。真是无为实相门，一朝直入如来地。
Right? You get the energy.
Yeah.
So all of the, there we go. All 20 minutes of the Zhengdao Ge, Shifu recited just on the spot. And we were there with our jaws on the floor because we'd never heard anybody recite anything straight through and have so much fun doing it, right? So we translated the Zhengdao Ge into English, and now we sing it with the banjo. We've got a good translation. We haven't recorded it yet, but it's underway. It's in progress. So I was so impressed that I took 3x5 note cards, and every day at lunch, I would eat a bite of rice and eat a chunk of baozi and read off my card. 顿教了如来禅，六度万行体中原，蒙命里有六趣，脚后空空无大钱。You know, and recite as I had lunch. And somehow taking the food in and taking the Dharma in really was a good compliment. And so this is Shifu providing for a tranquil and happy mind, right? Now, the Zhengdao Ge is a song. It's a ge, it's not shi, it's not a ci, it's not a fu, and it's not a wen, it's not an essay. It's a song, it's meant to be sung. So Shifu says, no afflictions, if we can do it. You bring forth a mind of beneficence, so beings can leave behind evil dharmas. Now, I will share with folks something that is not all that happy, or maybe you could say it's pretty miserable. But at the time, I had already been silent for 4 years. And I was pretty much ready to start talking again, but my vow was still going on. And yet my companion, Marty, he was talking, and he was doing a lot of business. The early, smaller, I don't know if we have them anymore, the Dabe Chan booklets with a white cover and a spiral binding, those were created by Marty at Golbuddha. And he took them out into Vancouver and got them printed up. And I was what? I was jealous. And I never considered myself to be a jealous person before. That was just not an affliction that I had experienced. Jealousy is green. Jealousy tastes like copper in the back of your throat. It's a really unpleasant psychophysical experience where you look out and you see something that you bring back in and compare to your experience of yourself, and you're unhappy about it. That's jealousy. And it is truly, anybody, it's time, whoever's got there we go. Don't be late. Okay. 时间到了. Okay. So here I was watching Marty be successful in the world as a monk, and I was silent. I couldn't do it because I couldn't talk. And I had these thoughts of jealousy. And so one day, I was just, Shifu was down in San Francisco, and the phone rang, and of course I couldn't pick it up because I couldn't talk, but Marty said, "Here, it's Shifu, for you." And Shifu? And he said, "Why are you jealous?" And I'm like, well, who knew? I didn't say anything. Shifu says, "Don't you understand how if you really fa puti shin, you can't look outside even for a hair's breadth? Why are you paying attention to anything outside you? What do you think you can get for that?" And it was just so clear. What do you think you're going to get by looking outside at all? Never mind that it was my companion. What did Marty do? Marty not only was studying Dharma, but he really enjoyed Confucius's Si Shu. Marty Verhoeven, Shifu said, is Liang Wudi. He's not like Liang Wudi, the martial emperor Liang. He was Liang Wudi. So here was Marty reading the Analects of Confucius and the Great Mean and the Mencius and the Great Learning, right? The Da Xiao and the Zhong Yong and the Mengzi and the Da and I say Zhong Yong, and he was really enjoying it. He had these translations, and I looked at that. I thought, boy, I should really be doing that too. How come I'm not doing that? And I realized that I was causing my own affliction. And it's to say evil, like our sutra. What kind of evil is it? You bring forth a mind of beneficence so beings can leave behind evil dharmas. Here was my teacher, out of the blue, calling me from San Francisco and asking me why I wanted to be jealous. And I thought, what a teacher. There it was. He was reading my mind clearly and saying, that stinks. Don't do that. What a gift. What an incredible... You bring forth a sympathetic mind to guard those who are afraid. Now, this is another one of those stories, but I need to share it because it's, when I think about Go Buddha, this is one of the things I remember. Later on, you have to know that when you are silent, your world is pretty small. If anybody has done fa zhi yu yan, right, a vow to be silent, over a while you get kind of isolated. And it's a good practice as long as you have people around supporting you. If you to say you're part of a family and you're going to be silent, well, you become a drag on everybody around you. They have to cover for you. So anyway, if the situation allows, it's a really wonderful practice. But I had been silent for quite a while. And one night I was meditating, and for some reason my mind fell into the hells. That's all I can describe. I was dreaming, but not really dreaming, and I was in a boat. And the boat was on the water. And the water was going through a gate. And you know what the gate said over the top? I kid you not, abandon hope when you enter. And I remember floating through the gate, and this boat was carrying me along, and I was not going to jump out. I couldn't go back. And I went into this place that was like a hallway, and there were rooms to the left and to the right, and living beings, people I didn't know but who I could see, were being crushed and pulverized and cut to bits and burned, and then they'd come right back and they would go through it again, and they'd die in horrible ways and come back, and the feeling in this space was despair. The sound was horrifying, the smells were horrifying, the feeling was deep despair, and I was terrified. And we'd walk down the hall, and I would look to the left and the right because there were people walking down the hall with me, and I wanted to turn to them and say, could you know, am I seeing this? But these people were all rushing to their next punishment. I was there as a spectator. I wasn't going through the punishment, but it was sort of like Restore Sutra, where you are a witness to all of these sufferings. And I have to say, I woke up and I've never been so scared in my life. And the phone rang. It was 2 a.m. in Vancouver and in San Francisco. 我站师父，你怎么样啊? It was Shifu calling me up as I woke up to say, what's going on? I said, Shifu, I just saw a terrible dream. And he said, now you know you don't want to go there, do you? He said. And it was like, was that comfort? Yes, it's called tough love, but it was exactly what I needed to, at that point in my cultivation, this is 1984, he knew when it was time for me to resolve, to get my faith deeper. And he said, you have to know that every word in the Restore Sutra is true. He said, once you cultivate, you can have some control over the living beings who you take across. He said, that's what bodhisattvas do. And it was this, it was like a lifeline, like somebody throwing a line to you as you slip into quicksand. And I was afraid. I was genuinely afraid. And Shifu's knowing to call me, knowing what was going on in my mind at the right time, and explaining that the reality of birth and death, the fact that we are really here in these bodies because of our past karma, and in these bodies right now, we are doing things with our words, our thoughts, and our actions that are creating our future bodies. How are we doing? Here we are in Vancouver, in this clean, pure, beautiful space, meeting together to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Gold Buddha Monastery. And how wonderful that we are free to choose. Talk about freedom. Talk about the ability to determine, based on our potential to wake up, how we want to go. And Sudana is here as our role model, saying, yeah, I want to, I wasn't sharing my screen again, sorry. Sudana says, I want to wake up, right? This was the one we're talking about here. A sympathetic mind to guard those who are afraid. So he picked Buddhahood. He's going to get there. So he's out there creating relationships with as many teachers as he can find. And we are free to do that. Saturday night, you know what you could be doing on a Saturday night here in Vancouver? Oh my goodness. We could be amusing ourselves and distracting ourselves in lots and lots of ways. Watching Netflix, right? Going out, talking, calling our relatives back in Taiwan, back in Hong Kong. Or we could be listening to the Avatamsaka Sutra and pondering on this thing called the Bodhi Resolve, the Putishin. How wonderful, how wonderful. Okay, so that's just a little bit of the flavor of our sutra. And I wanted to share something that I've been enjoying. This is a new one I don't think anybody here has heard this on the banjo yet. But when we do one thing that Go Buddha began and is famous for in the various practices that we do, we fang sheng here at Go Buddha. We set free animals that are on their way to being turned into somebody's dinner, or birds that are going to be used for sport shooting, right? Sport. And we let them go, give them another chance. So in the Fang Sheng ceremony, we recite the names of the 7 Buddhas. You all know this one? Qi Ru Lai Sheng Hao, right? And they are Namo Do Bao Ru Lai. Those of you who can read the Chinese right there, you got a head start. Namo Tathagata, Buddha, many treasures. Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, Tathagata, jewel victory. Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai. Right? The Tathagata with a marvelously formed body, beautiful body, Buddha. Right? Guangbo Shen Ru Lai, Tathagata with an extensive body, big body, Buddha. Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Tathagata beyond all fears, fearless Buddha. Namo Gan Luwang Ru Lai, Tathagata ambrosia, sweet dew, Buddha. And then our old friend, Namo Amito Ru Lai, Tathagata Amitabha, limitless light. Now, each of these Buddhas has vows. They have made vows, and they come together. These are Buddhas from the past. They come together to do what Buddhas do. If you recite the name of Dobao Rulai, you get rid of stinginess, right? Many treasures. You leave the 3 sufferings, hells, animals, and ghosts. You get rid of poverty. So if you are a store owner, if you're a shop owner, if you're somebody in your family, you recite Namo Dobao Rulai and transfer merit, their stores succeed. You can get rid of the karma of theft that makes us poor. Good for business people. Anybody here have a night job, right? Have a second moonlight? Dobao Rulai. Appears in the Lotus Sutra. Dobao Rulai Bao Ta, right? Guanyin Bodhisattva offers to the stupa of Dobao. Bao Sheng Rulai, jewel victory. If you recite the name Bao Sheng Rulai, animals, your pets, get protecting spirits. You don't fall into a miserable rebirth. If you go through the marketplace where there are butcher shops, mortuaries, you can benefit the invisible beings that come together there. Miao Si Shen Rulai, Tathagata with a beautiful body. What's the benefits here? Ghosts change their yin to yang energy. They leave the path of ghosts. So recite for invisible beings. People get beautiful appearance. How much money did you spend in, what's the Canadian store where you get cosmetics? What is it? Is it a Rite Aid? I don't know where you go in Canada anymore. But how much money have we spent on hair color, on face cream and all, right? Children in the womb become pretty babies when they're born. Physical beauty, better than cosmetics, right? 打扮, no, you just recite 南无妙思生如来就好了，省很多钱哦, right? Guangbo Shen Rulai, Buddha with a big body. Hungry ghosts' throats expand, they can drink water. They gain rebirth in life after life, born in a big, extensive body. Li Bu Wei Rulai. Oh, teach this to your kids, your children who are afraid of the dark. It's a real thing. Afraid of the dark. Everything's dark at night, right? If you recite Li Bu Wei Rulai, fish and birds lose their fear. They leave the animal realm. I recite this when I feed the cockatoos and the lorikeets in Australia. I'll be doing it in 3 days back. I have the bird cafe down there in Australia, and I recite this for them. Gan Luwang Rulai, ambrosia. Fish understand when you speak the Dharma or the Heart Sutra. Recite for your child before they go to class. They remember the teacher's lessons. And they can get into McGill, and they can get into MIT and Stanford. Where do those kids come from? Amito Rulai, we know about this one. People who recite eradicate life and death debts. get reborn in the land of utmost happiness. What a wonderful, happy result for reciting Buddha's names. Nianfo. We ready? Those of you who've heard this, you can join me loudly. Here we go. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Gotta do it again. Here we go. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Reciting it twice is not as good as reciting it 3 times. Ready? Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Si Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Reciting the names of the 7 Tathagatas is a really good practice. So many beings benefit just by reciting. Why? Because of their vows. That's the way they set it up. Okay, our time is up, but I have one more story that I really have to share because it's one of my best gold Buddha stories. And let's pin it to one of the lines. Here we go. You bring forth an unobstructed mind to leave behind all obstructions. Okay? The Chinese was what? 就说发无爱心，舍离一切诸障碍故. Okay, what obstructs us? Well, mostly pretty much everything, right? Our eyes only, our dogs and cats see better than we do, and they certainly hear better than we do. So, an unobstructed mind. Where does this work? Well, at the old Gold Buddha on East Hastings Street, the Wang Sheng Tang and the Yan Sheng Tang were down in the basement. They were in a separate room off the dining room. And we would do our Fa Hui upstairs, and then when it was time to transfer, we had to go downstairs. And of course, you know, when we transfer merit, you kind of send, we're going to do it in just a minute. We're going to do our transference. You hope, you kind of send it out with a wish. May all living beings, I vow that living beings, etc., right? But do they? Do they? Tomorrow night, 7:30, same time, same place, we're going to investigate the 10 transferences. So that Wang Sheng Tang, here's our Yan Sheng Tang, our Wang Sheng Tang is right here in our Buddha hall, right here at Gold Buddha. Well, every now and then, it's kind of like the obstructions disappear. One day, Shifu was there. Shifu had come from San Francisco. We had finished a Guanyin Qi. It was that time of year. And we had gone downstairs. And I was the Weino, and Marty was hitting the wooden fish. And Shifu was the Fadru, the Dharma host, transferring. And it was the afternoon. I think it might have been September. And everybody was tired. This was the last one of 7 days. You know how it goes. And there's a special transference at the end. And I wanted to show off for Shifu that I really knew how to do the Huixiang, you know. And so I was busy reciting, chanting. Marty doesn't speak Chinese. He was doing something else. And after it was done, everybody else went upstairs, and Shifu was surrounded by lay people, and Marty was standing there with his eyes just like this, so big. And he said, "Did you see him?" And I shook my head. He said, "You didn't see it?" Shook my head. He said, Shifu I don't know what he was doing. I saw all of the souls from the Pai Wei, from the plaques. They all, with the incense, went up far, 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 far away. Shifu opened a door, and they all went through. They're all gone. He said, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, I didn't see it now. I still didn't see it. You know? He said, it's really real. So when we transfer merit, especially when we have merit to transfer, now here at Gold Buddha, starting on Monday, we're going to do Long Fa Hui, right? And when we transfer, if we're sincere, those souls really go on the Pai Ways. So that happened in Gold Buddha. I didn't see it, Marty saw it. But ask him, if you ever see Professor Verhoeven, ask him about the time that he saw Shifu open the doors to the Pure Land for those souls to leave. Pretty amazing. Okay. One more. When you all go back, if you like Buddhist music in the West, go to Dharma Radio.org. Dharma Radio, Stories and Songs of Awakening. There it is. And see Good Karma Music. This is also Chinese. There's a Zhongwenwang. But go to Good Karma Music right here. What is it? Do a good deed. Tell us what you did, and we will send you your choice of Buddhist stories, Buddhist music, and The Spirit in the Cave of the Heart, 3 songs by a Franciscan monk, Catholic monk, a Benedictine, not a Franciscan, I'm sorry, a Benedictine Trappist monk, Father Cyprian. He's got 3 wonderful songs here. Stories for Awakening, Dharma Radio, my newest album of Buddhist songs. What else? Also Paramita. And Brian Conroy just published a brand new storybook called Bright Moon, wonderfully illustrated by Katrina Milner. Furthermore, you get to read the stories. Put your name in there. What did you do? What was your good deed? Send, what is 1 + 1? We beat the bots that way. Submit your post. Let's see here. Lydia, this is 2 days ago. One day, a woman came to the city from afar. She didn't have enough money. She forgot to bring her ATM card. She said she could borrow cash and transfer it. I told her she didn't need it. I could use the cash. For helping, if you insist on repaying me, then you can help the next person in need and let the kindness of the world circulate. Pay it forward. Good deed. I don't know what music she chose, but I hope she enjoys it. Woman on the Way, New Jersey. This was on the 9th. I'm a middle-class American woman who studied Hinduism and Buddhism. Small investment in a company that failed. As the bankruptcy company sold off the failed company's assets, I began to get quarterly checks. At first, I spent the money on myself. When the checks reached 108, a sacred number in Hinduism, I thought I should give the money away. I gave it to individuals who needed a financial boost. One time, I gave it to a young man starting out with his first guitar. Hey. Another time, an acquaintance had a big tree fall in her yard. The money was to have it removed. I ask each person to never thank me. The money is not really ours. To not tell others, to pass along the good vibes in any way they could. Okay? So, good deeds, right? And all you have to do is do a good deed, tell us what you did, fill out the form, and then we send you a compressed MP3 to your email with the music of your choice. Now, at this point, we have 500 stories, people who have done this. So this is an interesting way to distribute Western Buddhist music. See what you think. And if you like Catholic monks singing Hindu music, beautiful. Father Cyprian is a marvelous singer. He does dedication of merit that we are just about to do. So that's dharmaradio.org. You can also listen to Shifu's recordings. You can listen to a podcast. all kinds of different goodies here on dharmaradio.org. All right, tomorrow is going to be a big day here. The nuns have been preparing for months and months. There are 20-some nuns who've come to join, and I think we have 9 monks here, so big doings here in Vancouver. Hope you all will get a good night's rest, get up in the morning ready to take part in our day of celebrations. The boys' school is going to be performing for us. It'll be something you'll never forget. And looking forward to seeing you in the morning. Tomorrow night, another lecture, 10 transferences. Make a wish, send out your merit as far as you can visualize. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. And before we go, we're going to bow to the Buddhas and bow to our teacher. You can bow right from where you're sitting if you like, either at home or right here in the Buddha Hall. You can just do a half bow from where you're sitting. Okay, please join. Here we go. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, keep those 7 Tathagata's names rolling. Amitofo. Good night, everybody.